Hey there. Excuse me. Hey, it's Kathy with Be Creative with Kathy. And sorry, I got a really funny message on my phone. I had to fix it there really quick, so that was weird. You saw my mess. But anyway, hey there. Happy Monday. I have a really cute or pretty, I think it's a pretty card today. The video is called Black Lights Aglow Christmas Card. Not because it's a black light card from back in the 70s or 80s, but because we're going to use the Lights Aglow. And hang on, I have another issue with my, oh my gosh, it's going to be one of those days. Let me fix my phone again, which is not cooperating. Okay, we're going to just see what happens. Okay, because my phone is not cooperating. Facebook Live is always tricky. Anyway, here we go. So you have to let me know if it's okay on your end, because it looks really wonky on my end. But back to what I was saying, the Lights Aglow is a suite in our mini catalog. So here's the, I call it the holiday catalog, because it has all the Christmas and Halloween stuff in there and some Thanksgiving stuff in there. But I'm going to use the Lights Aglow suite. Now, I'm not going to use any die cutting today. I'm making a Christmas card, and when I make Christmas cards, especially if I will make a bunch of them, I try to make them really fast and simple, and die cutting a bunch of stuff would probably slow me down. So on this one, I'm not going to do any die cutting. I'm going to use the stamp set here, the Brightest Glow for the sentiment, so the season's greeting and the hope your Christmas shines with the love of family and friends. And then I'm going to use this little sparkle over here from this stamp set. And then from the other stuff in this other stuff in this suite, I'm going to use this beautiful designer series paper. And I believe that some demonstrators might call this a one-sheet wonder card, but I don't know if that's what it is. I don't normally do that, so I don't know if that's what it would be called. But this is what the card looks like, which I think is really pretty. And like I said, that designer series paper that looks like this, we're going to use one sheet to make this card, and we won't have hardly any waste or scraps left over. Now, the cool thing about this paper is you could make several of these cards from this stack of designer series paper. Look how pretty that is. So for instance, this is the one we're going to use, and the back looks like, whoops, the back looks like this. But yet you could use this sheet, this pack would look just fine on this card. This one, most of them, now this one maybe not, but this one you totally could. This one you could make the same card, at least the same layout on a bunch of these patterns. Oops, not that one. I'm dying to play with this suite. I haven't really taken the time to get to know it yet, but trust me, I will very soon, and hopefully I'll have more videos of different stuff you can do with these. Die cuts are amazing, and the designer series paper you just saw is beautiful. But let's go ahead and work on this card. Focus, Kathy, and I'm going to show you how I cut the paper. Plus, I have a newfound fondness with my paper trimmer that I'll show you too, and maybe it's just an aha moment for me and not for you, but like I said, we'll see. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to check it when I look at my card, I want these lines in my designer series paper to go this way. So I'm going to cut my paper first this way. This is 6 by 6, so of course it's 6 at the top, and the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to cut off a 1/2 inch. Now this is just going to be for this strip down here for the inside of our card. Let me line it up again at 5.5, or I can use the measurements over here at the 1/2 inch, and I'm going to just cut that off, and like I said, I'm going to save that for the inside of my card. Then I'm going to go ahead and cut this down to 5 1/4, because that's what our mat, like the layer on our card, is usually 5 1/4 by 4. So now I have that. Now this piece we're not going to use on the card today. That's one of the scraps, or one of the trash, I guess you'd call that one. I don't know, I might hang on to it and use it as a strip on another card. Then I'm going to turn it this way. Now this is still 6 inches up here because we cut this one down, but now it's 6 up here, so I'm going to just cut it at 4 like that. And now we have the front of our card, and then that focal point in the center. And really all the scraps we have left is this one. Well, we're going to cut this down a little bit too later, but all we have is this one little scrap here. Now let me show you with my paper trimmer, my newfound love. So this little piece right here on the front, I was trying to figure out, because this card I saw, a friend of mine was at a demonstrator meeting and she showed us this beautiful black and white card. Now her card had some black and white gingham in the back and all this, but I was trying to decide what sizes to cut all the paper, because I think I took a picture of her card, but then I couldn't really find it, and I was kind of trying to guess, and I looked at my paper trimmer trying to decide if it was like 3/8 of an inch or if it was 5/8 of an inch, and I decided that since Stampin' Up! Gave us a paper trimmer that has the metric system up here at the top, or the metric measurements, I guess you would call it, that is the easiest thing. When you're measuring little tiny pieces like that, you need to just go to the metric measuring up here. So I'm going to cut my paper for this strip here. I'm going to cut it at 1.5 centimeters. It's just really easy to look right here. I hope you can see. I can't zoom in the way I have my stuff set up. But 1.5 centimeters is so much easier than trying to count 3/8 of an inch, I think. Maybe I'm just lazy, which is definitely true. And you know, I'm going to cut 2 of them just in case I have a mishap. Not that that would ever happen, but it's so small. But like I said, this is measured at 1.5 centimeters. Now it's going to be the perfect size for the stamp set, or the stamped image I'm going to use. And then I'm going to cut it down, I believe, to 10 centimeters. There again, I think 10 centimeters is really 3 15/16 or something like that. But like that, I probably could just cut it at 4 too, but since I'm going metric, I might as well go the whole way. Now I have the perfect size for my little sentiment there by using the metric system. And since it's all here on our paper trimmer, it just gets easy. Sometimes I'll tell you in inches and sometimes I'll tell you in centimeters. But when I discovered that, especially when you're trying to do a little scrap, let me show you an example. This is a card we did at my club, and I needed this little strip right here. And that is just 1 centimeter by 4 1/4. And it was so much easier to measure as 1 centimeter than it was as like 3/8 of an inch or whatever. So that's just a tip. I don't know if that helps you or not. It changed my life. It seemed to free me up a little bit. And maybe I'm just crazy. Well, we all know that. Okay, some other paper sizes that we're going to use. And if I go too fast, or if my words come out of my mouth that aren't the right thing, you can always go to my blog, becreativewithkathy.com, and the measurements are on there, and all the supply list for what I used today. But I have a black card base. Now these, when I get a black packet of paper, usually I just cut a bunch down to card bases, because I use black card bases quite a bit. So this is 8.5 by 5.5, and then I've scored it at 4 1/4. So just your typical card base. This is an inside layer. Same thing when I get some basic white cardstock, I just cut a bunch down to 5 1/4 by 4, and then I just have all of the card bases when I need one, or the card mats, especially the inside like that. You use that a lot too. And then I have a piece of gold foil, and this is 2.5 by 5 1/4. And this piece here is going to layer nicely right there on that. Well, let's go ahead and just put that together right there. Like I said, I think this is fast and easy. And when you're cutting your gold foil at 2.5, it makes it really easy too. You get a lot of pieces out of that 12 by 12 when you're cutting them down to 2.5. Okay, there we go. So there's that one. And then I'm going to go ahead and take this. And the reason I'm doing these 2 layers first is so I can see that my ends line up like here, so they don't hang off the edge. Otherwise I could turn it over and trim it. And the same thing with this one. If this isn't cut the exact same size as that, and I'll show you, does that look straight? That looks straight enough, huh? It's not quite in the center. I'm going to see if I can't put that a little better in the center here. There, that looks better. Anyway, as I was saying, now I can see if they line up. If they don't line up, which mine, they got a little bit of a border there. I'm going to go ahead and just take my paper snips, and I'm going to trim that down so they line up. So when you do a card like this, I just suggest you get all your layering first. It was really close. In fact, I can't even get close enough, so we're going to go like that. But I suggest you do this part first. You could even lay this in your paper trimmer and trim it that way. Then let's go ahead and put this right on top of our card base. And I hope everything's working. It still looks really wonky on my end. Okay, then I'm going to just take this piece with some tape runner and run this along here. Set that here. And look how pretty. We have a really nice start and a really pretty card base there. Okay, let's do some stamping real quick. We need to stamp on our little strip here and on the inside of our card. There we go, that side's a little better. So I'm going to use this little twinkles, like I said, down here. I'm going to put those on a block. Look, don't tell anybody, I haven't even put my stamp set together, or put the stickers on it, I guess you'd say. But there's the little snowflakes, look like that. And then we need the Season's Greetings. Now see, this one I've used more. I put this one together. And we need those words that say, hoping your Christmas sends or shines bright with the love of family and friends. I like that for the inside. Okay. Now, before I do anything, I'm going to take my embossing buddy. And yes, we have an embossing buddy. It's part of a embossing kit, I think is what it's called. It comes with the tray, with the reverse tweezers, and with the embossing buddy. And I'll show you the reverse tweezers because we're going to use them when I stamp on that little strip. But I'm going to just run it along my paper like that. That gets all the static off. It gets kind of the oils from your skin off. So then the embossing powder will only stick to where the ink is. And we're going to use Versamark for our ink for this part. Okay, so here's, oh, and you know what? I changed my mind. We're going to stamp the words first. That way I know where to put my stars on the inside. So real quick, just with some black memento ink, I'm going to ink that up. And since it's a red rubber stamp, I'm going to practice once first. I'm going to bring in just a scrap of paper here and just practice. Yep, looks good. Sometimes that red rubber, you have to ink it up a couple times to get a really nice image. I'm going to slap it down here, set it down, not press it. I don't want to smush my red rubber. I just want to get a nice image on there. Let that ink sink in. That's the only black we're going to use. I'm going to set that aside. There we go. Now let's bring in that Versamark and stamp, first of all, my little stars or sprinkles. And you can't see the Versamark's a clear ink, so you probably can't see it. But what's going to happen now is when I put that gold embossing powder on there, and I keep mine in a little tub like this, and you just pick it up with your paper, flick off that extra. Oh, that's another thing that comes in your embossing kit is a paintbrush. Really, it's not a paintbrush. I think it'd be way too thick to paint with, but it really gets those little flicks of embossing powder off where you don't want those. So it looks like that. And then we'll heat that in just a second. Let's stamp the other part here, because I'm going to do that with white embossing powder. But I have the one that I've run my embossing buddy over. We'll use some Versamark ink, and let's see if I can get this straight the first time. If I can't, then I cut that extra one just in case. I'm going to use the top of my rubber and the bottom of my rubber to kind of, and here my head's probably going to get in the camera. Let me scoot this down so maybe I can not get my head in the camera. Wait, ink it up one more time. Now I'm nervous because I put the big, let's see if I can do it. Try to get it centered, set it down, let that ink sink in, a little bit of pressure, and let's see how straight. Oh no, I think I got it pretty straight. Let's see what happens. I'm going to hold it with those reverse tweezers, another piece of the embossing kit. Hold it like that. I have some white emboss powder in my little tub here. Now I'm going to take my tweezers off so I can get the, if any embossing powder stuck Then I'm gonna put them back, and that way I can hold it when it's hot and it won't burn my fingers. Okay, now we're ready to use the heat tool. So let me get mine plugged in. And I'm gonna go ahead and turn it on and let it heat up a little bit while I get ready and put a couple things out of the way so I don't spill them. There we go. Okay. Let's bring in this black and white piece. Now this is what's fun about embossing, is you watch that powder turn back into like a plastic, because I believe that embossing powder is just shaved plastic, but now we're going to melt it back onto our card. And as you saw, that powder only sticks where the embossing, or where the Versamark was, and so now it has that shiny kind of plastic look to it. Hang on, I got to use my brush here. I have a little bit of embossing powder on my words that I do not want because it's stuck to that black ink. Okay, now let's melt that embossing powder on those pretty stars and see how they turn from that matte powder stuff to a really pretty shiny gold, if you can see it like that. Alrighty, now just like that, we need one more piece for our card. I'm going to clean up a little bit, and that is these wonderful snowflakes. Now these are a carryover from last year's catalog. They're in the mini catalog or the holiday catalog, and they are really pretty. In fact, right now you're looking at the plain side of the snowflake. When you turn it over, it has that really pretty iridescent look to it. And they're very delicate, and they come in a sheet. I believe there's, let's see if it says here, yep, 24 in a package of those little snowflakes. Get some of this powder off of here. Okay, I am going to bring in my silicone mat because I want this to go right through the center here. And I don't want to get any adhesive on my table, although it's probably already on there, but we won't talk about that. I'm going to turn my snowflake so it's up and down. These are up and down. I don't know what those are called. And then with the glue dot, which I can't find, here it is, I'm going to just take a glue dot here, if I can find it, with my take a pick tool, and put that in the center on the front of my snowflake, like this. And then when I put my greeting over that, I can get it hopefully centered on my snowflake. See how I did that? Now really, because there's no adhesive anywhere, I probably didn't need my silicone mat, but anytime I'm working with little spaces and adhesive, I always grab my silicone mat. Now I guess it's just out of habit. Then on the back of this, I'm going to put dimensionals. Along there, and then just center this right here on the front of my card. Does that look pretty centered? That does look really centered, looky, just like that. Now my snowflake here has some dimension, but yet it's still going to kind of lay flat. I don't know, I think it has a really pretty look with that dimensional behind it that's stuck to this. So there you go. Let's put this on the inside, and just like that, pretty fast, we've got a Christmas card all made. Which one? This one. Oh shoot, I shouldn't have put that on there yet. Okay, bring that silicone mat, because I shouldn't have put the tape on there yet. First, before I put it in my card, I'm going to bring in, remember this half strip of paper that we cut? I'm going to put some adhesive on the back of this. And now, because I already had adhesive on my paper, it won't stick to my silicone mat, but at least now to stay nice and still for me. And I'm going to just lay this at the bottom like this. There we go. And then turn this over and cut it down to the exact size of my cardstock. There we go. Now, which one was it? This one. I'm going to take and put that on the inside of our card. And look how pretty with that designer series paper and those embossed little sparkles in there. Look how pretty our cards are. So there you go. There's how you do, I guess it's called a one sheet wonder card with all that pretty designer series paper from the Lights Aglow designer series paper. All right, I hope you got some useful tricks and tips from this card. I would love for you to subscribe and like my channel if you're watching on YouTube. If you're watching on Facebook, I would love for you to like and leave a comment. I always want to hear what you think and even what I can improve on with my videos. So again, thanks for watching. I'll be back here next week, Monday, with another project for you. Take care. Bye-bye.